This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't SmackDown. This ain't even WWE.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Time restraints, a 30-minute time limit.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Marks on Commentary. I'm Jason Smith.
And I'm Eddie Brophy.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
All right, well, welcome to episode 2 of Marks on Commentary, the podcast. With more fuck-ups, because now I'm in charge. We won't divulge that it took me, an extra, I don't know, Jason said, we'll do it in 45 minutes. Neither one of us wanted to acknowledge that. Am I the one that has to tell the other guy that we should be recording right now?
I don't know, man.
Hey, it works, though. So Jason has just, might I point out, because I remember I was telling a friend, if the first words out of Jason's mouth were WrestleMania was fucking awesome and not I just got engaged, I'm going to be kind of pissed off. But yes, Jason, it did go to WrestleMania. He was at Access, and yes, he is now newly engaged. But
yes, I am.
You were posting a lot of the pictures and your thoughts on WrestleMania. So give us a run through. What was that entire weekend like?
It was pretty cool. Showed up there Friday evening and everything like that. Access was cool. It felt a little clusterfucked a little bit. It was just kind of like get in and see if you can meet somebody. I would have rather the ticket said, hey, you're going to go meet Zack Ryder. Hey, you're going to go meet this person. I ended up meeting Ezekiel Jackson, which was, I don't know, middle of the road, but the line was 20 people long as opposed to 100 people. So,
well, I had read actually over the weekend, this past weekend, that was a major complaint among many who attended WrestleMania and the Access weekend. That was a major complaint with a lot of people, was that the lines were obscenely long.
Yeah. That was unfair. It led you to believe that you're really going to have a chance, and it's such a short event. And I'm sitting there we walk in, and the first thing I see is the line for Ted DiBiase Jr. just opens up, and I'm like, let's go sit down. And they make you sit down in the arena seats, and you're going to have to wait 40 to 50 minutes. And I'm going I just got here. I don't want to wait 40 minutes. This fucking thing's going to be over before I know it. So.
Well, one of the bombs that was dropped that had me wondering during the Taker Punk match was that a fan actually asked Taker, because he was at Access, I don't know which day, how many Mania matches he had left in him, and he kind of gave the blunt, honest truth, which was that he doesn't think he has many, which to me was the big surprise with him winning in that match, was that he doesn't even think his body's going to hold up much longer. So now, obviously, it's past Sunday. We're now 21-0. I want to hear more about the actual weekend when you were there, what it was like in a live capacity, but I don't know. I just feel like they ruined a good thing with Mania all around, but obviously I want to hear more of your take being there live. I mean, what were some things you noticed? I mean, there was reports that fans were getting refunds for the tarp that was hanging over the ring with the skyscrapers.
I'm actually going to look into that because I didn't know myself. And it seemed very fucked up. I don't know if you saw the pillars or whatever, they enclosed them to look like buildings. And, if they left it open where it's just, I don't know, scaffolding where you could kind of see through it, it would have been a lot better. But the thing was fucking huge. And I don't know, a quarter of the ring was kind of blocked from where I was sitting. I'll post some pictures up on the Facebook page where you can kind of see my view. And that kind of sucked, but I ended up having to look at the monitor more than I was looking at the actual ring. And that kind of defeated the purpose of being there somewhat. But
so essentially you paid more than the $70 charge for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I mean, it's still it's an experience for you. And I mean,
absolutely. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Now I can say I've been to a WrestleMania. So.
Which is huge because they're never coming back to Boston. That's my conclusion. They are never coming back to Boston.
Not to Boston. Maybe to Foxborough. Maybe that's a possibility, but who knows?
All right, well, let's break down Mania since we're on the subject now.
Sure.
In terms of the overall, because I don't want to break it down match by match because that's going to be tedious. Obviously, everyone had their favorites. I'm really let down, though, that you did not get a crowd like we got this past Monday night.
Yeah, well, you know what that is? I was sitting at home watching it the next day, and I'm going, well, that's just a hyper-marked crowd. If you're a parent in that area and you're bringing your kid to a wrestling show, do you want to bring them to WrestleMania or do you want to bring them to the night after WrestleMania? I want to bring my kid to WrestleMania. So you're already eliminating that portion of the audience. and then you have the people that have flown in. If you watch like the video of all, and we'll get on to the Fandango singing. If you watch that, it's all fucking 20-year-olds. There's no kids. I don't know. So I don't know what the crowd was. I don't know. It was. I was a little jealous that even my girlfriend was watching it, and my fiance was watching it. I gotta get used to saying that. And she was like, "Why didn't we get that? Like, why didn't we get the Money in the Bank cash in? Why didn't we get it?" I'm going. I don't know. Like the whole WrestleMania felt a little clusterfuck to me.
Well, because obviously the first questions I was asking myself is Lillian Garcia, America the Beautiful. What the hell happened?
Yeah, that's what I said. I kept scratching my head like, it's touted on that True Story WrestleMania. Oh, we sing America the Beautiful or whatever every year, and it's such a beautiful song. And I'm going, didn't they fucking skip something? But
well, that leads to the even the match cuts too, like the Tons of Funk against Team Road Scholars. Like
I wasn't disappointed that got cut, but it just felt like. I thought there was like when Cena's music hit, and I was like, wait a minute, we're doing this now? Like there was no even build up to that. Like there was throughout the night, and I remember the video package played for like the Cena Rock thing, like the third match in, and I'm looking at my girlfriend going, are they fucking doing this now? Like I don't know.
In the 5 minutes that it took to air yet another Rock Cena promo, they could have squeezed in one of those matches.
Yeah, just a quick squash, but whatever. I wasn't disappointed that was the one that got cut, thankfully, because I didn't want to see that. But
now I actually lost count because I know you were way ahead of me in terms of your predictions. I was blown away by the like really depressing number of predictions that I had that didn't come to fruition. Like I think I had 2 out of like the 8 or 9 matches that happened, and it was like super fucking predictable. Like.
Yeah, it's strangely predictable. And the things that weren't predictable were like the toss-away matches where you're like, oh, well, this is obvious. Like, the Shield is obviously going to take their first loss. Ryback's obviously going to get the win. And, like, none of those happen.
Yeah, so. that threw me through a loop, especially with Miz winning the Intercontinental title. And again, he was a transitional champion given Monday Night Raw, so it was kind of like, why did you bother doing that? Like, what was the point?
I don't know. But I will say that what's funny is we're sitting during the pre-show, and God is mad at Miz for winning the title because the second he pins him for the title, it didn't downpour, but it started raining very heavily. So God does not like Miz as Intercontinental Champion, I guess.
Now, as many of you can tell, Catherine's not with us. Catherine, and I'm really disappointed because she blogs for FanIQ.com. She was actually at SmackDown last night. And I have a feeling that was a jab at Catherine because she owns a Ms. Snuggie, which I didn't even know.
A little bit. I was disappointed to hear she wasn't going to be on the show. But into retaliation, I do have like a cool Access Ms. story. They were doing some kind of like bit in the ring where you impersonate your favorite wrestler or whatever. And some people get I'm going to be The Rock. Oh, I'm going to be Cena or whatever. Miz, somebody was doing Miz, and they did a really decent job. The kid had a British accent, too, and he managed to pull it off. But the cool thing was Miz is sitting adjacent to the stage area, and he gets up, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, you're talking shit about me, because it's playing throughout the whole arena, and they kind of had, like, a cool little dialogue back and forth, and the kid gets him with a fucking awesome line. He's like, even though I'm on the pre-show this year.
Wow.
It was awesome. But he took it in stride. I got to give credit to Miz. He took it in stride, and it was the fun of the arena. So,
no, I mean, I definitely kind of feel like Miz is the fact that he won it with the figure 4 instead of the skull crushing finale. I actually thought was pretty big, and I thought that was a really, really subtle but awesome tribute to Flair, given everything with his going on with his son and what have you. But
absolutely,
I want to get down to the nitty gritty. Now, I will say, the shockers for me, Team Hell No winning. Wasn't really excited, but I thought that was a really solid match. I really did. I thought that was.
I was even impressed with the Shield Big Show Team Orton match. That was fun. A lot of cool little interesting spots that they put on throughout the match. Nice little dynamic, but I was fine with that. What was after that?
I actually thought Fandango and Jericho was actually a pretty solid match. For as short as it was, and as I mean, there weren't a lot of like phenomenal WrestleMania moments involved, but from beginning to end, considering it was his debut and considering all the shit they've put us through as fans leading up and like building up that character, which really isn't the kind of character you want to build up, I thought it was pretty solid. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. It was fun. But I kept finding something to distract me because at that time they were setting up the stage and I'm going, are we getting that? Because it looked like they were setting up for a musical performance. I didn't know that it was going to be P. Diddy. I thought it was going to be Living Color that was coming out next, but
now, how little did the live crowd care for P. Diddy? Because I got to say, on TV, when I watched it, that was like the diva moment. That was when you get up and you pee and you come back and you're like, oh, wow, it's over. Awesome.
Yeah, the more interesting thing was the light show that they had pretty much going on behind it. I could give a fuck about what he was singing about, but the light show was actually pretty fucking awesome in the arena, at least where I was sitting.
No, I honestly, I got to ask you because you did mention to me, and you were actually Facebooking me when you were at the event. Taker's entrance.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome. Like, I'll admit it. I'll say to you what I said there. My fucking jaw was shaking. You know, it's everything you built up in your head from a little kid, and it's come to fruition right here in front of me. I was shaking. There was almost, I'll say it. There was a little tear in my fucking eye. So, because it was fucking beautiful to me.
Well, because, again, this was Taker's match to Paul. This is probably going to be one of his last Mania matches. And, I mean, that's huge. Like, the only time I've ever seen Taker live was American Badass Taker at King of the Ring in 2000. So, I don't know what it's like to hear the gong and the lights go out and, like, the camera phones and the lighters go up. And to see, I thought, like, when he ascended from the ramp and you see the arms reaching out for him, I thought that was huge.
That was cool. That was cool. I said to you, like, I thought that was like a tribute to, if you remember the old like Titantron of Undertaker, where they had the waving arms in the background,
the creatures of the night.
Exactly.
Such a throwback to. All in all, I thought that was a solid match from beginning to end.
Yeah, the crowd loved that. That was easily the match of the night.
I think in terms of length, it could have been longer.
That's the first thing I said to you. I'm like, if it was 8 to 10 more minutes longer, that would have been perfect.
But
if they had played up the back and forth, like Punk has more of a chance to beat him than what you initially thought. But
now, in terms of the three main events, I think Taker Punk could have been longer. I think Brock and Triple H could have had potential to be the match of the night, but there's just something about it that just. I was joking with Catherine because I said during Taker Punk, we were talking about how like all my predictions didn't come true, and I'm like, dude, they fucking buried everybody. They even buried the Spanish announce table. Like, they wouldn't put anyone over. Like, it kind of pissed me off because, like, when Punk, went for the drop and he hurt himself, all I kept thinking about, I was actually hysterically laughing, being like, man, like, you can't get fucking Ziggler and Big E over. You can't get this guy over. You can't even get that fucking announce table over. Like, how heavy is that announce table that Punk can't even crash through it with Taker?
I don't know.
But, I mean, Triple H and Brock, what were your thoughts on that?
I'll tie it in even with the Rock and Cena match. I think they're better than their previous past match counterpart. It was definitely an upgrade from the SummerSlam match for Triple H and Brock. It was fun. I mean, at least being in the crowd. No, nice little back and forth, some arm, working the arm and everything like that. That was cool, but
I do have to work in this joke because a Facebook friend of mine had posted because he was watching it. And he thought that Triple H, what he had on him, because when you were watching it from home, he had some white residue.
Oh, yeah, I could see it from up in the crowd. And I thought I had missed something.
Apparently, that was dry ice. My guess is that, and he suffered some nasty burns from that. My guess is that was probably left over from Taker's entrance. But I remember he made this comment like, oh, they had to, already use the fire extinguisher on Triple H, so, looks like someone's getting fired tonight or something like that. I thought it was actually really funny, but I was really, really let down by that. And I mean, the fact that they even buried HBK, because Brock comes out of the ring when HBK is checking on Triple H rather. Lesnar comes around the corner and fucking HBK hightails it.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was that? You totally HBK is not HBK to me anymore. He's a pedestrian.
It didn't really work for him to be at ringside. Like, the whole it's like you're gonna go get in a fight and I'm gonna bring my buddies with me. And he's supposed to be the face. Like, if he was the heel in the match, fine, that works for me. But I don't know. Like, the odds were on Triple H's side, and it just never felt like, hey, he's going to lose.
Now, finally, with the main event, how was the crowd during Rock Cena?
Pretty tame. Like, I don't think anybody was expecting it at that moment. Because, like I said, like, there was no grand entrance for either of them. It just was like...
And again, they chalked that up to time restraints, which I find funny because it was a 4-hour fucking show, but whatever.
If you're not planning for your main event, you fucked up. Like, so, but it just was like they came out of a video package and Cena's music hits. And it was like, this is happening now? Like, and I'm thinking, like, does he come out for a promo? Like, this doesn't fucking make sense to me why it's happening now. But, I don't know. I had lost track of time. My phone had died, like, moments within getting into the arena. Like, so that's why I wasn't posting on the Facebook page as much as I had wished I could.
I tried, but you were getting nothing but, like, drunken, like, angry Eddie because, like, literally the first thing I saw during the pre-show was a Boston Suck shirt. And then Miz is making his way to the ring, and, you know, oh, this is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'm just like, oh, man, I got a really bad feeling about tonight. If this is what opens the show, I have a really bad feeling. However, Monday Night Raw Redemption, and I owe it. I think WWE owes that crowd something because you even said yourself, there were a lot of people that, you know, traveled far and fucking wide, worldwide, to go see Mania that either they couldn't afford Mania, so they said, fuck it, let's go to Raw.
Or they just did both.
Yeah, what a ruckus, though. I mean,
was awesome.
Reading the reports that Vince was actually highly, despite the fact that they buried 3 matches.
Yep.
That's intense when a crowd can bury a match. Like, I've never heard it. And I remember, like, asking Catherine, kind of being let down, like, how was Boston? Because Boston crowds are usually really fucking amped up for anything WWE. That's why they like coming here. But I just feel like that crowd raised the fucking bar for that Raw. But it's also a thing that you can't have that every night, because if you did, it would ruin the show.
Absolutely. I mean, it would make you have to change things. Like Fandango would now have to be a face. Punk would have to be a face. Cena would have to be a heel, because you can't go out to that crowd every night and expect your top face to get over in that. It's not going to happen.
And they released a report today saying that another, among many reasons that Punk wasn't used on Raw, was because they were terrified, knowing the kind of crowd that they were going to be, performing in front of, that if Punk came out, he was going to get like a Ziggler. I mean, Ziggler's a fucking heel. He wins, he cashes in, and that was like the highlight of the fucking night. He cashes in, he wins the World Heavyweight title. That was the night to do it, because the pop he got was unreal.
It was bigger than Cena's the night before. Granted, you're in an arena, in a smaller arena for that, but that was a bigger reaction out of that crowd than it was for Cena winning the world title after 2 years of almost not having the belt.
Now, if I can just, interject here, this is how pumped the crowd was from beginning to end. Now, this is after the show, and this isn't even, I couldn't even find the clip that I wanted. And the clip I want was the fans coming out of the arena and still doing this. They even did this, as Jay pointed out, in their cars, if you can recognize it.
I love this.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following, I've seen superstars get over. I've never seen a theme get over.
No, not like that.
I mean,
that's ridiculous. And of all themes to do it to, where it's like, that's a terrible fucking song for the guy, but now there's no way you can change that.
Well, and again, I mentioned earlier that the Sun in the UK had posted a thing that, and you had posted on the Marks and Commentary on Facebook page. Now there's like a campaign to get it #1 UK iTunes. Like, everyone's behind this now, because it was one of those crystallizing, and this is the thing that, like, after Raw ended, I was like kind of, reflecting on. Not to sound like a super mark here, but I was just like, that's the power of live TV. That's the power of a live crowd. That's wrestling. That's the kind of wrestling you get off on, because a theme got over. Like, it's kind of like when everybody jumped on the Daniel Bryan Yes bandwagon, like, or Stone Cold Steve Austin with what? A theme is now a chant in the arena. So anytime something happens where people are bored senseless, like, I can't wait to see another live show just for that fucking moment when the crowd, and I just thought that was phenomenal. Even Taker with the Shield, I mean,
that was cool, and I didn't expect to see him, but I guess you have to have somebody on that show, because of your main events, one guy's there. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, his opponent isn't even there, because they're talking injuries, they're talking the fear of popping. Like, it just seems absurd to me. But I was angry initially with the Brian Kane title defense, because I thought this is so overdone. Like, it's not funny anymore. Like, everything that made this team special is gone. In a weird way, the fact that Kane trusts Bryan enough that they both came barreling down the ramp to save Taker was almost like reminiscent of like X-Pac Kane.
Yeah.
There was that brotherhood. There was that trust there that made... That's the only reason. And people can say like, well, you know, Team Hell No. What makes it work is Dr. Shelby and that they hate each other. And, you know, if they lose the titles, Catherine, you know, we were both playing WWE Creative. And we were saying how, like, well, Ziggler theoretically could have cashed on Cena because AJ was a GM and so was Vicky, and they could have switched the papers, and that would have been too predictable. The same with, like, you know, and then she said, like, something to the effect of, like, oh, if they lose the titles, they have to go back there. That's an awesome angle. But I almost like the fact that now Bryan has Kane's trust. I just hope they don't drag it on. Like, if they break up as a team, I don't want what we got years ago with Pac and Kane, where for almost a solid year they're rivals. Like, don't do that. Just let them go their separate ways. But
because we saw that prior to them tagging, so we saw that feud already, and just split and move on to your next things.
Yeah, I think at this point, if Ziggler's wearing the gold, man, Bryan is phenomenal.
Top contender.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, my other question is, because they are definitively deciding to do away with the brands because they don't think they have enough names to draw money for, like, an individual SmackDown house show. So, I don't want to jump the gun here, but is there a potential for title unification? And if so, who's going to get it? Is it going to be Cena or is it going to be Ziggler? Because that's what I'm real curious about right now.
I don't see it happening. It's too easy. I mean, I think you do kind of need that secondary. It's the modern day Intercontinental title where it's just that it's the working class title, you know? It's the fucking, who is it? It's the Bret Hart title. It's the Shawn Michaels. That's what I kind of see it becoming. You know, you've had Del Rio, you've had Bryan work that title. Sheamus, I guess you could throw into that too. So it's the working wrestler's title.
Now, I wish I still had this pulled up because I had it pulled up earlier. I actually had a list, because you mentioned Sheamus, of all the chants that were going on during the Orton. Orton got so discombobulated that he took the microphone away and said, "What's my line again?" to Sheamus, because, I mean, they were chanting Cole, they were chanting JBL, they were chanting for Macho Man, they were doing the Mexican fucking wave. Like, that crowd did not give a shit about Orton and Sheamus. I don't see that rivalry going anywhere now.
No.
I think, if anything, this is why Vince or whoever is in creative control still needs to pay attention to the crowd. That may have been a one-night post-WrestleMania thing. I feel like they call it the WWE Universe. I think that's so condescending, but I think the crowd has spoken. I think they finally said, why don't you let us determine who gets the push and who gets the bury? You know what I mean? Like, instead
of pushing the Cenas, instead of pushing, I mean, Orton doesn't get the push anymore, but Sheamus, you know. I mean, I've never been a huge Sheamus guy, but he's kind of like the Intercontinental title reign and don't go beyond that glass ceiling. But I see them needing him, but not. He's not going to be a John Cena level caliber wrestler ever. So
it just felt like, in terms of Mania, I thought it was botched as all hell. You got Triple H hurt, you got fucking Brock's hurt, Undertaker's hurt, fucking Punk's hurt. What the hell happened? Like, you had a 4-hour show. You were so pressed for time. I mean, even the Hall of Fame, like, I was reading a lot of reports that a lot of people were kind of disgusted by the Hall of Fame because the Madison Square Garden crowd wasn't very respectful. Like, they just
that's what I heard too.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
They just didn't give a shit about it. I mean,
yeah.
At this point, for me, it's got to be a changing of the guard. Like, what's gonna make people care? And I saw this meme and it made me laugh my ass off. 2014 Hall of Fame inductee, New Jersey. Like,
that's awesome.
I really do think that this is the point where WWE needs to really fucking pay attention and say, you know what, our crowd's trying to tell us something. I mean, yeah. I look at Fandango, and we joked about Disco Inferno. I look at Fandango as like the definitive Attitude Era character that, like I said on the previous show, like, he's the Rico, he's the Al Snow, but let the crowd decide for themselves how far this guy can go. And realistically, if he's going to be in a title contention, he probably won't get as far as like Intercontinental or U.S. title. But unlike Ryder, before you bury him, why don't you let the crowd decide? Like, this is what we want. I mean, obviously, the crowd didn't give a shit. They just wanted something to chant. I mean, if they're gonna chant "We are awesome," they're gonna chant anything. But there's something so ridiculous about the Fandango theme chant that you're just like, there's something really special going on there, and there's something about that particular night that they really need to explain. I really do. If they're all, as John Laryngitis would say, it's about people power. Give it back to the fans, man. Like, that's all we want. It's not that we're all smart marks and we know what we're doing, but we know who we like. And especially with Ziggler getting the pop of the night, fucking listen to us. Like, I would love Ziggler to just be a face, because I just feel like Cena's the top face, and that's why allegedly Punk went heel again, because he knew he was never going to overthrow Cena. Let Ziggler be the guy to overthrow fucking Cena, because he's got the talent, he's got the work ethic, he's got the package, like, and even former superstars on their Twitters, like X-Pac was one, and Beth Phoenix. This is a guy the locker room was really pulling for, and I was so thrilled that they were just finally like, let's give this guy a bone, because you know what, we keep burying him and we keep making him look like shit out there every night. When he wins, man, like, that was almost like a Mankind winning the title from The Rock kind of pop.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that was awesome.
So, I mean, overall, WrestleMania, I wasn't impressed. Raw shocked the shit out of me. SmackDown, from what Catherine told me, there was some stuff, that when she was speculating that Jericho may actually be injured. She had talked about, the post the dark match where I guess Bryant pulled off the chokeslam on Fandango.
That's awesome.
So that would be interesting to see. And I'm sad that she's not with us to talk about it. But
yeah,
I mean,
next week maybe.
Yeah, overall, I mean, general thoughts on this week in wrestling. Where do you stand? I mean, did it kind of rejuvenate what you love about wrestling, or does it? I don't know. Are you more? Because I'm in between. I'm really rejuvenated, but I'm also really concerned, because you're on one hand, Mania this year was worse than any Mania I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But in terms of Raw, that crowd saved it, but you can't have the crowd save every show, because you're gonna get cities and towns that are pretty dead.
Yeah.
So
I don't get how you can build for a year long and then the next night is your best show of the year. Like, that just boggles my mind. It's like, put that show on Mania, because you guys don't have a fucking clue what you're doing or what your audience wants.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point I'm at right now. And I mean, I'm almost at a loss for words, because I remember finishing Mania and just kind of being done with it and just being like, I don't want to live through what we've gone through. I mean, again, Punk going into Money in the Bank, and after Ziggler's pop, I had to go back and watch the Money in the Bank match and see Chicago erupt for Punk and just be like, this is what we fucking want. We want an anti-hero. We want somebody who's going to come out here and not talk down to us. We want a guy.
We want a different face. No, pun intended.
Yeah. And I almost feel like it's almost condescending on both Cena and WWE's part to have him do the little, oh, I'm going to turn heel dance that he does.
That's fucking stupid. It's like, I even wonder, like, this is my kind of theory on the whole Cena thing, is like, he's had a pretty good sample of the wrestling industry for like the past, I don't know, 20, to say 30 years. He's been able to see the mistakes that Hogan's made and where Hogan's turned, not in terms of character, but in terms of actual personality, and said, it's when Hogan didn't do this. If I do that, that makes me a good guy. Like, to the audience, behind the scenes, everything. I think he's smart enough to realize where he needs to position himself so he's always in the right spot. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. Nobody, that's the one thing I hate about the whole like WWE like point of view on why the audience doesn't like him. Oh, well, you don't like him because of what he stands for. No, I respect John Cena. I have no qualms with who he is, what he does, all the be a star, all the goodwill, kid wishes stuff. All that's great. But I'm just fucking seeing that shoved down my throat. The one thing I heard was fucking, I didn't pay $70. I didn't pay $70. I paid way more than that to go to the show, to watch fucking video packages of how great the WWE is. With fucking Be a Star and all these Sandy Relief stuff. That's great that you do that. Just tell that during your press conference. Don't tell it during my show that I paid for.
Well, that's the thing, is you came here, you don't want to be pandered to, and that's seen as a big thing. I don't pander to the crowd, but you totally fucking do. And for once, New Jersey, and I cannot emphasize this enough, the Izod Center fucking threw it right back at you and said, fuck you, dude. Like, we're the ones paying the pay-per-view prices and the ticket prices. We're going to come here. If we don't like it, fuck you. We're going to do the wave. We're going to chant for RVD. And meanwhile, King's going to be like, what fucking decade are we in? Like, and I even love that the commentary team loosened the fuck up. And I mean, I thought it was sad that Cole had to be Cole after Lawler had his heart attack, but I fucking love Cole again because he's like a little kid out there every Monday night when the crowd's popping. He's loving every second of it. I even loved when Jericho ripped the cowboy hat off of JBL and tried to put it back on him. And JBL was like, oh, we're old friends. We go way back. Have fun, man. Like,
yeah. That's the thing. The fun of the business, the involvement of the crowd, where we're helping you tell the story. You're not just dictating the story to us. A blind audience doesn't want to watch, Cena win the title again. What the fuck do they do with him now? This is essentially the end of a 3-year-long storyline from the second Rock reappeared to WrestleMania, him holding up the belt. Now that's done. That's the thing that I took away from WrestleMania is this fucking storyline where Cena's getting back the title. It's over. Now we move on to the better one. When the fuck is he going to lose this thing?
Well, that's the best part is I feel like originally it was written for Ryback to turn heel to be the big spot of the night. You know what the big spot of the night was? The crowd still didn't give a shit. They didn't cheer for either of them. You know what they did? Da-da, da-da. You might as well just had Fandango run out and win the title from Cena. Because honestly, I don't give a flying fuck about Ryback. I don't give a shit that he's heel. If anything, I'd rather see Mark Henry go after Cena.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. That's kind of why I thought I was driving home the next day and was going, oh, Henry won because he's the only contender that could even challenge Cena now for the title. But I guess they made their own new contender.
Yeah, and that sucks because we have Ziggler with the World Heavyweight title and we have Cena with the WWE title. Ziggler is more over than Cena, and like you said, that's the glorified, new wave of Intercontinental titles. And honestly, I kind of want them to just say, fuck it, let's unify the titles, send Ziggler, and they never will because it's a great idea. Let's take the guy that got the biggest pop of the night versus the guy that is on all of our fucking, collector's cups and everything else. Enough. Just listen to your fucking fans. I don't know. I know originally we talked about maybe doing this longer, but I'm kind of just like, you know what? No. Let's leave it.
We're just going to keep saying fuck this product.
Yeah. Let's leave it on a low note, but with a tad bit of optimism because eventually we will have a studio back and eventually we will be doing this shit on camera. Just so you can see me and Jay. This is literally, it's sad that theme is what makes me want to go to a WWE show now. Because I just want to be one of those assholes in the crowd that isn't yelling what or yes or see. It's da da da. Every time someone says something, I'm just like, dude, fuck this promo. Da da. Like, that is now the WWE version of the Oscar music they play when they want someone to get the fuck off the stage. It's like, dude, the crowd's not feeling this. Oh, God, it's... So anyways, with Rock, da da, shit. That's honestly that... I hope Vince... honestly, man, that's your creation. Understand that Undertaker was a shit creation, and he's now 21-0. Like, you can do amazing things with bad ideas. Fandango is one of the worst ideas, and it's got a life of its own. It's got legs, man. It's gonna hit the ground running.
You said it right there. It's 21-0 versus 1-0 next year.
Honest to God, I mean, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do now, but you know what? Fandango, the streak must continue. However, on that note, I think I'm gonna call this one and say, you know what? We're gonna wait for next week because Punk's coming back.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get the fate of, it's a new pay-per-view Payback. I'm actually, the name sucks, but I'm glad that it's not fucking, the usual run-of-the-mill, like, oh, we're going to do this pay-per-view again. No, let's, fresh blood.
It's singles match, the pay-per-view.
Oh, is that what the, because...
No, I'm just sticking with you.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, God, they changed the name of the pay-per-view? That's awful. But that's such a WWE thing to do.
Where it's triple threat. Oh, it's 60-minute time limit. I don't know.
You know what I will do? The main event at Payback, the follow-up pay-per-view. Let's see how long the crowd can chant for this. It's an Iron Man match. The crowd versus Fandango's music. Just throwing that out there. Anyways, I'm Eddie Brophy. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Jay, any final thoughts?
WrestleMania is over. Cena is now on the road to losing the belt at some point. Ziggler has the belt. I'm happy. I'm engaged.
Final thought for me. Da 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 da. We'll see you next time.
See ya.